Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Cashel and I try my best to tell you about a true crime case that hopefully you've never heard of, because then you can't fact check me. Happy Father's Day! This is the second special for Father's Day. I will be doing, well, the last special I'll be doing for Father's Day. I will also be doing 2 more specials this month for Pride Month. So they will be Pride themed cases. They are horrible. They are genuinely heartbreaking. I've found 2 that I would like to do, but they are just horrible. Trying to research them is actually really hard. I'm not enjoying myself. I will hopefully have 2 Pride cases for you this month. You better fucking watch them because it's taking a lot out of me researching these. I hope everyone's having a lovely Father's Day and has recovered from yesterday's case. Today takes a slightly different angle, and we are looking at a woman who has gone out of her way to torture a father, basically. I'm not going to spill any more on that. I don't think I have anything more to add, to be honest. I'll see you again on Tuesday. Tuesday we have got the case of this. Tuesday we have got Jade's Law, which is a really, really interesting case. I can't believe that it wasn't a thing before the time that it's set in. It's absolutely ridiculous. Be sure to give that a watch. It's very, very interesting. I am trying to find some more cases that have influenced laws. I have a very long list. I have like 42, I think I said on that list. So I'm working my way through ones that I think are, well, they're all important, but the ones that I think are more unheard of that are important. Yeah, let me know what you think of those, and we will get on with today's case. Trigger warnings for today's case do include mention of mental health. If that's something you don't want to listen to at the moment, that's absolutely fine. I hope you will join me for another case. Content warning, as always, strong language. Today we'll be looking at the case of Christy Sheats. This is the woman who claimed to be protecting her family by destroying it first. Christy Lee Sheats was born on the 1st of May 1976 in Alabama. She was raised in a conservative Christian family and brought up with strict values and traditional gender roles. By all outward appearances, her childhood was very stable. Those close to her would later describe Christy as always being intense, emotional, dramatic, and a perfectionist with a streak of control. Maybe she's a Virgo like me. She was described as intelligent, pretty, and at times deeply religious, which I don't know what that means. I didn't know that you could pick and choose that, but at times deeply religious. She performed incredibly well academically and didn't have any run-ins with the law. There were signs from a very early age of a unstable kind of personality, volatile personality. She was very dramatic, like I said, intense and controlling, which is not the best ways to be described. After high school, she met a gentleman named Jason Sheats, and they quickly fell in love. Jason was quiet, intelligent, and responsible. He worked as a computer engineer. He balanced Christy's nature very well. He had a very calm, logical approach. To outsiders, they were the picture of happiness, a middle-class Southern couple. They married in 1996 and moved to suburban Texas. In 1997, they had a daughter named Taylor, and in 2000, they had a daughter named Madison. Christy ended up being a stay-at-home mum, and she was really heavily involved in both of her daughters' lives. She prided herself on being the perfect Southern wife and mother. Their home in Texas looked like it was straight out of a magazine. I think she would keep everything totally perfect, but behind closed doors, things weren't quite as perfect as they seemed, as they rarely are. As Taylor and Madison grew older, their friends who would come round started to notice kind of tension in their household, which again is not great. Your friends noticing it. By the early 2000s, the couple had began having arguments over how exactly they both wanted the children to be raised. Christy was strict and controlling, and Jason felt that her approach was just far too extreme. And as the girls grew older, Christy's behaviour was becoming more and more erratic. By the early 2010s, Christy had been really struggling with her mental health, but she found a lot of support from her grandfather. And horrifically, in 2012, Christy's grandfather passed away, and she felt totally crushed and lost by this. She'd lost her support system. 2 months later, Christy's mother passes away, and Christy's mental health declines rapidly. Her grandfather ended up leaving her a gun in the will, which Jason was not happy with this, and he wanted to keep it locked up for everyone's safety, but Christy refused. She was just beginning to clash with kind of everybody. She even started clashing with her daughters, especially Taylor, because she was the eldest and she was growing more independent, and Christy didn't like this. She was losing her sense of control on her. She was attending college and she got herself a boyfriend, and Christy did not approve of this boyfriend. Christy was just controlling, and this was especially over Jason. She was known to berate him in front of friends. She would kind of cut him off mid-sentence. She would accuse him of infidelity without any rhyme, reason or cause. And she began kind of emotionally manipulating Jason, and this would eventually extend onto her daughters as well. Taylor, the eldest, was bright and ambitious. She wanted to go to college and she had dreams of working in healthcare. Madison was slightly quieter, but she was very close with her sister. As the pair of them began growing into young women, they both kind of distanced themselves slightly from their mother, Chrissy. And Christy did not handle rejection well at all, and she saw this as a form of rejection. Christy had had a long history of mental illness. She'd been hospitalised for suicidal thoughts several times and had attempted to take her life. Jason, of course, supported her as much as he possibly could, but the emotional burden on the entire family was mounting, which is really sad. And then, to make it worse, Christy started drinking. Christy's alcohol abuse became a serious problem. She would spiral into depressive, angry rants whilst she was intoxicated. The police were called to the house several times because of this, and they were mostly called for domestic incidents from Christy's outbursts. In 2012, Jason temporarily moved out of the family home with the girls, and this was due to safety concerns. Christy was totally unstable by this point, but she did promise to get herself help, and with that, Jason and the girls returned because they wanted to hold the family together, but unfortunately it did not last. Jason had filed for separation at least once, but he always came back. He later admitted he was afraid of what Christy would do, not just to herself, but to the girls as well. Between 2012 and 2016, the police came to the home at least 14 times. However, 5 of these were for just the alarm. January, May and July of 2012, Christy attempted to take her own life. April of 2014, she attempted once again, and May of 2014, an intervention was set up to get her help. By June 2016, the couple were on the verge of a divorce. Jason had finally decided he could not take the instability any longer. Now, this is the part where I get a little bit of mixed information. So one source tells me that Christy invited everyone round for an anniversary party. Others tell me it was Taylor's birthday party. So I'm just going to say it's Taylor's birthday party, but if I am wrong, I have cleared it up. So June 24th, 2016, it's Taylor's birthday party. No, it's not. It's Madison's birthday party. It's Madison's birthday party. Jason had agreed to bring the girls over and come over for a small family gathering. She said she wanted to talk, maybe reconcile, but the main purpose of them being there was to celebrate the birthday. She posted on Facebook, "Happy birthday to my sweet Madison, I love you so much." That afternoon, Christy called for a family meeting. Jason, Taylor and Madison were all gathered in the living room. Christy had actually just come down from upstairs where she had retrieved a .38 caliber gun that she had in her bedroom. She had had it stashed there for weeks, and without warning, she pulled it out and fired. She shot Taylor in the back, and Jason and Madison got up, screaming and running. Christy fired again, and she hit Madison. The girls managed to make it out of the front door, bleeding and begging for help. Madison collapsed in the driveway and neighbours heard what was going on, and they did actually call for 911. Chrissy followed everyone outside and she stood over the girls and shot them both at point blank range, killing them both in front of multiple witnesses and poor Jason. Jason was screaming and begging her to stop before she'd obviously killed the girls. But Christy was shouting back, "This is what they deserved." 911 calls from the neighbours are absolutely haunting. People just shouting and screaming that there's a woman killing her kids in the street. It's just awful. I mean, it's bad enough for the neighbours, but poor Jason, Christ. When officers arrived, they found Chrissy standing over her daughters with the gun still in hand. Jason was screaming and he was being restrained by a neighbour. He witnessed obviously the entire thing and was unable to do anything to save his daughters. Police, of course, demanded that Chrissy drop her weapon and she just refused. She raised her gun again, pointing it at Taylor's body, and officers opened fire. They only shot Christy once, but they killed her on the scene. The scene was just an unimaginable horror. Madison had died in front of the house and Taylor died at hospital. Both girls were totally unarmed and neither of them had been able to fight back. Jason was of course left alive, but a totally broken man. He'd lost his wife and his 2 daughters all on one of his daughter's birthdays and had to witness that happening, being totally unable to do anything. It's just like a different level of horror. The community of Katy, Texas were just totally shaken by this. Vigils were held and hundreds of people turned up in order to honour Taylor and Madison. Their friends described them as kind, smart and full of potential. One wanted to be a nurse and one wanted to be an artist, but both of them were taken far too soon. In the days after the murders, police dug further into Christy's mental health issues, and according to records, she had a long history of anxiety and depression. She had been off her medication at the time of the murders. Jason had previously tried to have her committed into treatment, but she refused. And in a twisted final note, she had wrote in her diary that she was going to do what she'd ended up doing to punish Jason. She wrote, "If I can't have them, neither can he." The community was absolutely shocked by this, especially because Christy painted herself as a doting mother and wife on social media. She had, of course, premeditated these murders. These weren't a spur of the moment kind of thing. Investigators found that she'd written journals, left a note, and even planned the attack around Jason's schedule so he would have to watch the attack. That's just another level of sick. Christy believed that she was protecting her daughters from a society that didn't value them, or from their father's custody. In her mind, they were better off dead than with him. Jason later gave interviews saying, "She wanted me to suffer," and she did that, I do. She succeeded. He eventually moved away from Texas, as I'm sure most people would if that happened to them, and tried to rebuild his life. Of course, there was no trial because Christy died at the scene, but there was public outrage. People were questioning why she was allowed to keep this firearm. She had a long history of mental illness. Her concealed carry license had been revoked, but somehow she'd regained possession of a gun, because even though it was signed over to her in the wills, surely she would have to sign some documents or submit something saying that she owns this now. The case added to national conversation around gun control laws and mental health screening, domestic abuse and coercive control from mothers, and the legal limitations of protecting family members from mentally unstable relatives. There's no law that's been passed specifically in the names of Taylor or Madison, but their death remains a heartbreaking example of how the system can fail. Families in a crisis when red flags are just totally ignored. Taylor and Madison should have had careers, families, and marriages of their own. Instead, their names are being mentioned in a true crime case like I am today, as cautionary tales about what happens when red flags are ignored. And that is the end of today's case. It was a quick one today. I thought it would be an interesting approach for Father's Day, because obviously this was a good father who really did try, and this is what happens when someone thinks they're in a position of power and does the most to hurt someone. We hear about it in quite a few true crime cases where one of the other parent uses the children as a pawn to hurt the other one, and that is just so heartbreaking. But I think especially in this case, there were so many things that could have been done to prevent this, like getting her committed, getting her the mental health support that she needed, and why the hell wasn't it looked into when she was given a gun in a will? Like, it's just crazy and it's horrible. So I need a positive thought ASAP, please. Oh, okay, I'll do a Father's Day themed positive thought. So when I went and got my dad's Father's Day present, there was this little lady, well, she wasn't little, but there was this lady in the shop, and she was like, "Oh, do you want me to paint you a picture?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, I do like portrait pictures." So I got found, it took me ages. We take no photos together. It took me ages, but I finally found a picture of me and my dad from about 4 years ago and gave it to her. And it is so stinking cute. I will take it, I'll put a picture, of course, but it's so friggin' cute. So that's my positive thought of the day. I wish I could do stuff like that. I can paint, but not like that. I'm a toxic perfectionist. Hence, I have to be like 5 weeks ahead of my schedule because it takes me so friggin' long to edit. But that is it for me today. I will be back on Tuesday with Jade's Law, and then I'll be back at the end of the month with my 2 Pride specials. If anyone has any other laws that they would like me to look at, please let me know, or just any cases in general that you'd like me to cover. I love suggestions. I seem to be able to find like a million suggestions for books that I should read next. Can't find any true crime suggestions though, can I? So I've got like a book list as long as my friggin' arm don't have any crime suggestions. So I'd really appreciate the help. Until then, make good choices, check on people, Mental health is really scary and should be taken very, very, very seriously, and we need more funding in things like this, and vice versa, we need people to stop abusing it. I have a lot of points there, but I can't. This video will be 50 minutes long if I go. Have a wonderful Father's Day. Don't get murdered. I'll see you Tuesday. Love you, bye. Check it on me. Fact check it. She was raised in always from a young age. Describe crispy. Fucking hell. Chrissy's nation. Fuck. In 1996 and oh no. Oh my god. Monstrosity is like me on Hinge. Jesus Christ. Abuse had begun to become, that's what I meant. Begun to become a problem. That doesn't sound right. Christy's alcohol abuse had begun to become became.